Welcome to our new video, where we dive into a chilling case from Sweden. Did you know that on one spring morning in 2008, the quiet town of Arboga woke up to a nightmare? Two little children were found brutally murdered, and their mother, Emma Jangestig, was barely alive. Seriously, it's a story so wild it sounds like a horror movie, but it actually happened. Stick around, because we're about to break down the entire Emma Jangestig case step by step. Let's rewind and break it down. Our story really starts back in the summer of 2006. Christine Schur was a 30-year-old German traveling in Greece when she met a Swedish guy named Torgny Hellgren. They hit it off and had a fiery summer fling, like a holiday romance. Christine had studied history at university and even lived in New York for a year, so she seemed completely ordinary. But when summer ended, Torgny went home to Sweden, and Christine returned to Germany. No hard feelings at first, but soon Torgny hooked up with someone new, a Swedish woman named Emma. For Christine, that was devastating. She couldn't let it go. By 2007, Christine packed up and moved to Stockholm, Sweden, probably to stay close to the drama. Being there only fueled her obsession. Prosecutors later revealed she had written angry journals and sent furious emails about Emma. She was convinced Emma had stolen her man. Friends saw how much pain she was in. Christine even attempted suicide twice that year. Reports say she cut her wrists in late 2007, telling doctors she was betrayed and miserable. That painted a big red flag. Christine was clearly unstable. Fast forward to early 2008. Emma and Torgny were living together in Arboga, a small town in central Sweden. By then they had two kids, a 3-year-old boy named Max and a baby girl named Saga, just 1 year old. They seemed happy and normal, like any family having dinner together. Meanwhile, Christine was still in Stockholm, but she had been secretly checking out Arboga. In March 2008, she took a few-day trips there undercover, quietly asking around where Emma lived, memorizing the neighborhood. Neighbors later admitted to seeing a mysterious blonde woman strolling through town around that time, but nobody knew why. Then came Monday, March 17, 2008. After work that day, Christine put her plan into action. She packed a bag, tucked a heavy hammer inside, and bought a one-way train ticket to Arboga. She arrived in town around dusk, dragging that suitcase behind her. Casually, she walked to Emma's house that evening. It was just after dinner time when she rang the doorbell. Emma answered, and suddenly everything fell apart. Christine unleashed total hell in that moment. She swung the hammer down on Emma's head with unbelievable force, 15 times, one after the other. 15 savage blows. Emma went down immediately, bleeding and barely conscious. But Christine wasn't done. Little Max and baby Saga were in the living room. Without hesitation, Christine smashed the hammer into each of their heads. The blows were so brutal, both kids died instantly. By the time Christine stepped back, Emma was seriously injured on the floor, and her babies were gone. You have to imagine the chaos. Neighbors later reported hearing horrifying crashes and screams from inside the house. Paramedics rushed in and started life-saving measures on Emma. She was bleeding heavily from her head injuries. They whisked her away in an ambulance. A helicopter was on standby, fighting to keep her alive. The children were carried out too, but tragically Max and Saga didn't make it. That night, Arboga police sealed off the entire street. It was one of the most horrifying crime scenes the town had ever seen. The house had turned into a scene from a nightmare. For a short time, investigators scrambled. They had the shattered living room and blood everywhere, but no suspect. Shockingly, in the chaos, police briefly detained Nicholas Jangestig, Emma's ex-husband and the children's father, just to be safe. He had been called and came rushing back, but he was quickly cleared. Nicholas had a solid alibi and, like everyone could see, had nothing to do with it. If Nicholas didn't do it, then who did? Then came the breakthrough. Emma woke up. A couple of days later, she finally stirred from her coma. She was weak, but determined. Detectives came to her hospital room and showed her pictures of possible suspects. With great effort, she recognized one face and managed to whisper a name, Christine. It sounds unbelievable, but that was all the clue they needed. Emma had seen that woman's face, the same one who knocked on her door, and identified her attacker. Suddenly, the case had a name, Christine Schur. Other pieces started falling into place fast. Investigators checked surveillance video from the Arboga train station on the afternoon of March 17th. And sure enough, there was Christine Schur on camera, boarding a train that evening. A station worker later remembered seeing a nervous blonde woman with a heavy suitcase pacing the platform. Police realized Christine had sneaked back to Germany on March 18th. With Emma's eyewitness ID and the train footage, the trail led straight to Christine. It was like the pieces of a puzzle clicking together. By the end of March 2008, Christine's freedom was over. Swedish authorities sent out an international arrest warrant, and on March 30th, German police showed up at her door. They cuffed her and read her the warrant: murder of 2 Swedish children. She was stunned. Within a day, Christine was extradited to Sweden to stand trial. Imagine that, in less than 2 weeks, a German woman was on a plane and in a Swedish courtroom, accused of killing 2 toddlers. It sounded unreal at the time, but it had all come to this. The trial was intense. Prosecutors calmly laid out the case step by step. Keep in mind, they had no murder weapon and no direct DNA evidence. But what they did have was everything else. They had the CCTV footage of Christine at the train station, plus a photograph of her wearing the exact running shoes that left bloody footprints in Emma's home. They had phone records confirming she was in Arboga that night. They even had over 50 witnesses who said they saw a frantic woman running near the house that evening. It was a total picture: motive, opportunity, and suspicious behavior all lined up. Christine's defense team kept calling it all circumstantial, but to the jury it was overwhelming. Christine herself insisted she was innocent. She sat nearly silent in court, arms folded, staring straight ahead. She demanded a psychiatric exam, then refused to cooperate. Emma bravely testified from her bed and pointed at Christine's photo when asked who the attacker was. The jury saw enough. Finally, after days of intense testimony, everyone waited for the judge. On August 26, 2008, the verdict came: guilty. The courtroom gasped. Christine Schur was convicted of murdering Max and Saga and attempting to murder Emma. She stared at the judge, stunned. A few weeks later, on October 14th, Christine was sentenced to life in prison, the harshest penalty in Sweden. The judge also ordered Christine to pay damages to the children's family. For Emma and Nicholas, it was bittersweet. They wept with relief, knowing Christine would never walk free, but nothing could bring their babies back. Naturally, Christine's lawyers appealed, but it didn't matter. By February 2009, Sweden's appellate court upheld the verdict and the life sentence. They even slapped a lifetime deportation order on her. If she ever got out of prison, which was very unlikely, she'd be sent straight back to Germany and banned from Sweden forever. So where did it all end up? Christine Schur stayed locked up. A few years later, she was transferred to a women's prison in Germany to serve her sentence. As far as anyone knows, she's still there. Emma Jangestig, meanwhile, recovered from her injuries and eventually left the hospital. She and Nicholas quietly moved away from Arboga to rebuild their lives. They never had any more children. Friends say they still light candles for Max and Saga on birthdays and anniversaries, keeping the kids' memory alive. Even now, years later, the story is one Arboga residents remember well. That small town was never the same. Neighbors say they saw police cars on that street for weeks. People lit candlelight vigils for Max and Saga. Some left teddy bears at the church. It was as if all of Arboga knew their names. The case became a kind of local horror story. Afterward, everyone in town was just a little more cautious. People started locking their doors always, even though Sweden is usually quiet. For the police, it became personal. The lead detective said later, "This case gave me nightmares." He couldn't believe how it unfolded, but he was proud they solved it. Another cop joked they didn't even need a murder weapon, but they had enough evidence to put Christine away. They kept replaying the train footage and photos. Even without that hammer, they had nailed her. Emma's tip had turned a scary crime into a solved case. As for Christine Schur, she became something of a cautionary tale. People who knew her said she was quiet and smart, which made her crimes even more shocking. Now, whenever someone mentions Arboga, Christine's name comes up. In a way, she's become almost notorious, a symbol of how jealousy can lead to tragedy. Emma and Nicholas tried to move on. They stayed low-key but sometimes wondered what could have been. They'll never forget those children, and thanks to their bravery, at least they know the truth. By the way, in Sweden a life sentence usually means many decades behind bars. With that permanent deport order, Christine is very unlikely to ever get out, and if she somehow did, she'd never be allowed back into Sweden. Basically, she got the maximum punishment. For Emma and Nicholas, knowing Christine was locked up forever was some closure. And believe it or not, everything we just told you is 100% true. Christine Schurer's obsession literally turned deadly. 2 innocent kids died and a family's life was ruined forever. It's absolutely insane to think how a summer fling could end like this. That's the Emma Jangestig case, explained from beginning to end. It's crazy and tragic, but it happened. Thanks for listening. Stay safe out there, and remember, even the quietest front door can hide the darkest secrets.